Nick Bertram is the president and COO of Michaels, the largest arts and crafts specialty retailer in North America. Before joining Michaels, Nick was the CEO of Flash Food, and before Flash Foods, Nick served as president of the Giant Company, where he led a transformation that earned them Retailer of the Year. But before any of these roles, Nick was a 16-year-old kid selling shoes in a JCPenney in central Kentucky. His career has crossed Walmart, Jewel Osco, Ahold Delhaize, venture-backed startups, and now private equity. What connects all of it is a pattern of people betting on Nick and Nick betting on people. In this conversation, he talks about a mentor who told him to stop climbing in one lane only, what happens when you join an organization and on day one face CEO removal, and why the real measure of a leader is what happens once they've left. Well, Nick, first of all, I want to thank you for joining me today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation.
It's great to see you, Ben. Great to be with you.
Likewise. So before we kind of jump into the professional aspects of things, can you just tell me a little bit about how you grew up? What was family life like? What part of the country did you grow up in?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a Kentucky boy, so I grew up in a really small town in central Kentucky, just south of Lexington. There were more cows than people in my town, and it had a really, I would say, simple and kind of like pure childhood. I mean, it wasn't perfect or anything. Broken family, my parents divorced, remarried, and stuff like that. But just a good town. Like people really cared about one another and worked really hard. Um, my family was in a plumbing business. So my grandpa, my great grandpa, my dad, they were all master plumbers. And so honestly, from the age of 5, I was a plumber. Right. It was actually learning the trade and spending my summers and a lot of afternoons working with dad and my grandpa. And that was a big part of life, and of course, church was very important to us, and our faith and staying involved in that. I was never really athletic. Like I was on football teams, but I
Okay.
wasn't any good. I was like third string special teams lineman. Like I mean, that was me. I was like
We
really
need
not
somebody
the
to sap.
athlete. But I got the jacket, I got the
Oh.
cool, jacket, when I was playing, but I was always more interested in, like, doing stuff like work. I mean, I've just always enjoyed work, more than I really enjoyed athletics, so I
What
think
an
my
odd
our
child.
boys today are a little bit different than that.
Yeah, I just spun a word.
Yeah.
When you think about that period in your life, are there certain individuals that you think have left an imprint and shape to maybe how you approach leadership and responsibility today?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I've always maintained and still maintain like the hero of my childhood and my adulthood was my grandpa, George Bertram Jr. And he passed away a little more than 10 years ago. And um, but he was always my hero. He was always the one that I wanted to be like. He was always the one that I wanted to impress and the reason why was because I just viewed him as, like, kinda bigger than life. I mean, he had built
Mhm.
this small business, which to me in a small town was a huge business,
Oh,
and,
sure.
and he could do anything, and he had done everything. Um, he was a deacon in our church. He had been a softball player, a bus driver, a police officer, like all these different things growing up. Excellent at farming, taught me how to fish, like all those different things. Really loved my grandma. Was
Mhm.
very much the leader of our family, and my dad had one brother, and so like we were a tight unit of kind of 10, doing vacations together and everything else. So really, my grandparents were patriarch, matriarchs of the family. And yeah, Papa is what I called him. And
Uh-huh.
Papa's great. Papa's the one who got me to go to college. Like no Bertram had ever done
Really?
college. Yeah, yeah. Because I assumed that I was just gonna follow in the steps of my dad and stay in the family business. And Papa was like, "No, Sonny, it's gonna stop with him. You're gonna go to college." I was like, "I don't want to go to college." He goes, "Well, you're gonna go
Mhm.
to college." I was like, "I'm gonna go to college." and, right?
Did
And
he ever explain why? I mean, I
he
can think of
wanted
reasons why, but did he?
Yeah, no, I mean, over time, he did. He goes, he goes, "You can do more than this." He goes,
Mhm.
"There's more out there for you." He goes, "Of course you can." He goes, "You can come back and do this, but do it better if you wanted to." But he just really wanted I think he wanted for the legacy of our family for somebody to do that. And so I did, and I got to be the
Mhm.
first. And it's actually, I mean, that's, and you know this, but that's what led me to retail also,
Mm.
because once I had chosen that path, it made sense for me to get, a job. It's just a part-time job. And that's how I ended up working at a small JCPenney at the age of 16 and, thus found kind of my calling, if you will,
Mhm.
in, professionally.
It's really fortunate to find it that young, you know? There's people that
Yeah,
spend their whole life waiting for that to come
it's true.
along.
Yeah.
So, if you think about early in your career when you were getting started at JCPenney or later, were there behaviors or approaches that you consciously wanted to model? Maybe that you either picked up from your grandfather or people maybe you didn't even have direct contact with on the way that sort of left an impression on you?
Yeah, there were. I mean, when I think back to Penny's, and it was a small store, right? Like tiny J.C. Penney, 17,000 square feet. Not a lot of team members in the store. Um, and the store manager's name was Tom Duckworth. We called him Mr. Duckworth. And he was, I mean, he was a powerful man. He was a serious man, always in a suit, glasses, all those different
Mhm.
things, and very much like a command presence and knew what was going on. And so it's very intimidating, candidly, right?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of like stood at attention when Mr. Duckworth came through. Um, and then there was another manager named Debbie Martin. She was a merchandising manager. She's the one who really took me under her wing, I would
Mm.
say. Like, if I think about people who had the impact, like, she's the one. Guys, she's
Okay.
the one who started giving me different assignments. I started out in family shoes. So picture the 16-year-old Al Bundy. That was me,
Yeah, your
right?
shoes?
Like, I was a shoe salesman. I still know 610, 3609, and 3610, like, sub and lots.
Mhm.
Like, that was the highest for like, and I always wanted to, is these little white female shoes, and you always sell a black pair too, and I learned upselling and all that, and I was pretty good at it, which was
Mhm.
weird, but she, like, then moved me into suits, and then she moved me into home and all these different things, um, and I'm grateful for that. So what I found, Ben, was that, like, there's just so much variety. Like, there is no
Mhm.
individual task or, like, similar day inside of retail. The more SKUs and departments you have, the more customer types that you have, and, fast forward a few decades, the more channels that you have. It's
Mhm.
just a fascinating, ever-changing, every day is just a little bit different kind of a puzzle to put it together, and she introduced me to that and showed me how fun it was, more than anything else. Like, when you get in too much product or you get it in a little bit early, you can either see that as a problem or an opportunity.
Right.
Dev always was like, "No, this is an opportunity. We just need to change this around and switch this and move it." And it was fun. I just really, really enjoyed it. And there were other people that were there as well that really pushed me. But Mr. Duckworth eventually noticed like my hard work, and he started to really take an interest in me and give me extra
Mhm.
assignments, and actually made me a supervisor, which was crazy, at
Yeah.
like 17, 18 years old to be a Salesforce supervisor because there weren't any. But I got my gold badge instead of a silver one, and got to be the manager on duty and all that stuff. It was fun. It was just a blast.
Do you have you did is Mr. Duckworth, did he live long enough to see some of your continuation through retail?
He did,
Mhm.
and he did pass away probably about a decade ago as
Okay.
well. But was always kind and stayed in touch.
Mhm.
He retired from Penny's, at some point, but even after that, like, even after I had left, my mom would go in and shop there, and he would ask about me
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Because I was going to university just a couple, counties away,
Yeah.
and had eventually picked up at Walmart, and that's where I chose to start my professional side of it, going to management. And, he was always very proud and very complimentary, and, he actually came to mine and Jennifer's wedding,
Oh,
which
okay.
was really kind as well. So, no, he became a big influence to me as well. I've honestly I've been unusually blessed and fortunate to have people pour into me,
Yeah.
and if I look back on, 20, 30 years of work, like, there's a lot of people like my grandpa, like
Mhm.
Debbie, like Mr. Duckworth that just, like, they're the ones who saw something and nurtured something.
Well, so I don't wanna answer your questions for you because but you've clearly modeled that in your own career in terms of pouring back into others and, read your newsletter all the time, Architects of Joy, which is
Yeah,
principally about featuring other people, right? So,
it is.
I can clearly see those influences there. But as you progress from operating roles into broader leadership roles, where did you find that maybe what had worked earlier in your career you needed to change, if anything?
Oh, no, I've had the fortune of learning a lot. Walmart was 12 years of my career, so the longest part, really, if you look at it. And I loved Walmart and I was fortunate to have, again, good mentors there as well. A gentleman called Jerry Spencer. Um, you know, Julie was amazing as well. I mean, just like great people that poured into me. Um, and I had success pretty early. Like I got my
Mhm.
first store at the age of 25, which was a bit unusual and, you know, regional by 30, which hadn't happened before. So like kind of fast pathing on those things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't linear. And I think that's the big thing that I learned out of it. And so instead of going just, from store to district to region,
Mhm.
I zigged and zagged a little bit functionally. And one of those zigs was in human resources. Walmart had not yet created human resources. They had kind of like a people administration department, but they didn't have an
Right.
HR proper. And so Sue Oliver came over from Delta and created really the HR function for Walmart US. And like one of the outcomes of that was field generalist roles. And I was
Mhm.
really interested in that. I just finished my MBA and wanted to have more of like a professional. Like I'd done ops, I'd really enjoyed it. I wanted to see if I could lead successfully in another function. And was fortunate enough to become a market HR manager for like Louisville, Southern Indiana. And I didn't do great. And to be really honest, like it was not like, wow, this is the best HR manager ever. And and I struggled because I was used to more of when you're a store manager, when you say, "Hey, go do this,"
Right.
like people do it. It's
Yeah.
amazing, right? And they build it, they change it. When you're in a more of a support role or in a strategic role, like
Mhm.
it's all about influence. It's not about authority. And I'm glad that I got to learn that in my 20s and have kind of some bumps and not do great. I mean, I got
Right.
feedback from my regional HR director. She was being kind of tough on me, and I'd never
Mhm.
really gotten like
Right.
constructive feedback or, maybe it wasn't so constructive, I don't know, but Paula is like, she's pretty
Critical
intense on a
feedback.
couple of things, and I was like, "Yeah, but I'm the first to get this done, and I got all these checked off, and yada, 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 yada." And what it really came down to was, "But you're doing it by yourself."
Mhm.
You've got to learn to collaborate. And that was the big aha for me. It's not about going alone. It's about collaborating. And sometimes, especially in functional roles and some of these strategic roles, you really do have to like lead differently. It's through influence, it's through contribution, it's give and take.
Mhm.
And I found that to be true in HR, and once she taught me that, even though it was a painful lesson, it really did unlock, a new gear for me, where I was leaning more into, like, the specialty functions of HR to bring things
Right.
together, and I was more enabling my business partner, who was, like, the market director, in solving things instead of trying to be the authoritative person fixing the store, fixing that store, and, um yeah, it was really it was good. It activated the strategic muscle that I'd not yet had to use. I was very tactical
Right.
up
Right.
until that point. And then, like, that learning opened up a bridge to then go into the home office innovation department, which was kinda like the breakthrough role for me,
Mhm.
during the Walmart days and something totally different where I didn't supervise anybody, but I had a
Was that
lot of
was that was that
responsibility.
function I mean, they've always been doing innovation, but was that function as sort of formalized new when you went into it, or was it existing?
Yeah, yeah, they call them ROSIDs, regional op support directors, but
Mhm.
they were connected to the home office innovation department, which is really launching all of the new technology, launching all the process optimization inside of stores, doing upstream things to try and adjust, inventory flow, pieces like that. So that was a really, really good high exposure role where I get to see the rest
Mhm.
of the organization. I really learned the magic of Walmart's replenishment and, learned like just quite a bit of different things, but also get to roll things out and solve things and try new things. And that was when Walmart was getting quite serious about competing in grocery. And the
Mhm.
region that I was supporting was the Ohio region. And Kroger at the time was just incredibly intense.
Oh, yeah.
We had a new leader for the division that came from Loblaw background, and so he's like a proper grocer and
Mhm.
tried to teach Walmart grocery. And so I get to learn about KVIs and things that you just don't think about.
Right.
It was awesome then. Like that was one of my favorite roles actually from a learning standpoint.
So, when we're looking backward, the old cliche that, in hindsight, everything kind of makes sense and you can see how the points connect that lead you to where you are today. But in
Yeah.
those moments that you were making those movements that weren't necessarily linear, I just keep moving up in store ops. Did you recognize in the moment that not why this would be great at the end, but view it as, oh, this is a great opportunity, or were you thinking, I want to run the district. I want to run the area. Or, I mean, were you kind of conscious at the moment that this was going to connect or?
That's a great question. I had been coached to be conscious of it.
Mm,
Like probably the most important professional mentor for me at this is a gentleman called Jerry Spencer.
mm,
Jerry was a very successful executive at Walmart and was a regional vice president who really gave me my breakthrough. He's the one who saw me. He's the one who, pushed me the hardest and the fastest and everything else. And what I observed in Jerry's career is that he also did not go linear. He went into different functions and that's how he knew so much. Like his knowledge of the full business and the different levers to generate like value inside of the business was superior to anybody I'd worked with. And
okay.
it's because he was really clear that, hey Nick, don't just aim for the next role in this. You've got to go over here and then, fast forward a few years, and another incredible mentor for me, James McCann, was the same thing. Like he's the one who
Okay.
really helped me break through into, an executive role, a general manager role. And his whole thing was, Nick, you've got to have, he goes, in retail, there's three legs to the stool: operations, merchandising, and supply chain. And you can't be the CEO if you don't have at least two of those legs. And so
Mm,
he forced me into merchandising, even though I'd never done it before. And so, like Jerry started that. I think James concluded that in a lot of different ways. And now, like I use those lessons with individuals that I'm trying to mentor and shape and lead, so that they see it as well. And I do find it to be true. Like general management is, um, it's just more valuable, I think, to an organization than specialization inside of something. Like you need specialists, but you've got to have people who can be ambidextrous and move into different things and see how the parts all come together in order to create the most value in an organization. And I think too many times people just they don't see that and they stick into just like kind of one lane. And you need some of
right.
that, Ben. I'm not saying everybody should do
Yeah,
that.
right.
I just say to create, chief executives, you really do have to have that path.
Right, and I think also when you I mean, everybody lives at a time where they think that this is unprecedented, there's so much change, never before, but we are in a period where there's a lot of change in terms of,
Yeah.
well, everything affecting society, and so I think that skill set that you're talking about and the ability to be able to look across not only functions, but reevaluate the industry itself and what it can be, becomes incredibly important. So in light of those movements that you made across functions, across organizations. Have there been a time in your career where you just misread the environment or the context you were going into?
Hmm. Yes. There's been a few times, I would say, if I look back on it. Leaving Walmart was hard, and you know this story, but, like, it was very hard. I loved Walmart, and
Mhm.
and Walmart had been, like, just, like, it had this kinda meteoric rise, but I
Right.
wanted to do more, and I wanted to kinda break out of the operations functions, and I wasn't really seeing the path at that time, just kind of the things that were going on culturally and otherwise at that particular moment at Walmart. And I had another mentor, Aaron Thompson, who was a professor at Eastern Kentucky University where I did
Mhm.
undergrad. And Dr. Thompson always was like, he was also a first generation student. He broke all kinds of barriers. He's still breaking barriers. Dude is amazing.
Mhm.
And Dr. Thompson was like, Nick, what are the recruiters that you know? I was like, oh, Doc, I'd never talked to any recruiter. I love Walmart.
Uh-huh.
I've got the blue out. He goes, yeah. He goes, "Can I just let you know that you need to get to know recruiters because you
Uh-huh.
never know when the environment's going to change. You're at a level
Right.
now where you've got to answer the phone. You have to." It goes, "It doesn't mean that you're out there looking. It's not doing anything other than knowing the environment." He goes, "You can get some intel," and he just told me all these great things. And so
Right.
I think that's when I created a LinkedIn profile for the first time, and suddenly found myself in a few conversations, and quickly found myself with 2 opportunities, very, very different opportunities.
Mhm.
Yeah, I chose the one that was at SuperValu
Right.
and, felt really good about it, but I had not done the diligence, man. I had not really understood
What
everything
they were
that was
dealing with.
going on, and so, like, it was the craziest first day in the history of careers. Like, my first day on the job at 7:30, my boss picks me up, says, "Hey, we got an emergency call for all the officers, the company, and, it's our board chair who's on the call instead of our CEO, who just says he fired
Mhm.
the CEO and it was taking over." And then he drops a little nugget at the end, "And we're exploring strategic alternatives." And then,
Right.
and so I was like, "Oh." And then that evening at dinner was my boss, the president of the division. He's like, "Hey, just want to let you know you weren't my first choice for this role. Craig,
Is
who'd
it
just been fired, had kind of forced you on me. I really wanted the internal guy, and just
Uh-huh.
thought you should know that." I was like, "Well, thanks." Like,
Thanks.
super, super helpful. Great steak, by the way. Like, what a wonderful night. And I called Jennifer that evening. And I was like, "Hey, babe. By the way, we just had our second son, like, not even a
Uh-huh.
month before this." I was like, "I think we're going to rent versus buy in Chicago, right? I don't know that we're going to go ahead and do the house hunting thing. I think we'll just go to rent and see how things turn out." But so I
Did you
did
share
misread
that
it,
did you share
but
that
it
context with her at the
Oh,
outset?
yeah, no, I d
Yeah.
like, 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
It
She's such an amazing, like, wife and partner, like, she's, like, she's, definitely my best friend, but also, like, biggest supporter and has always bet on me, and everything we've done has been together, and so,
Mhm.
like, we had not done this aimlessly, like, we'd spent time in prayer and everything else, and I thought that I had done diligence, but
Yeah.
not to the level that I now do diligence on anything.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, uh, I think also there's times where there's a level of diligence where you just you can't know. Like, you can always kinda look back and say, "Well, I could have seen this," but you can't know. But I'm curious 'cause is on this theme of, like, everything leads us to where we are today. Did you meet Kevin Holt during that overlap in
Yes,
at
and that's
SuperValu?
the beauty of this whole thing. Had that not happened, like, that 1 year of experience that I had at Jewel, which turned into 2 different parent companies, SuperValu and Albertsons,
Mhm.
that's how I got into the grocery industry. Like, that's the first time that I've ever been in, like, legitimate, like, political situations, right? Where there was an organization, like, rejection of the new, or like I was being
Right.
rejected in a lot of different ways, and it just created, it hardened me, on the outside, not on the inside
Yeah.
necessarily, but it made me tough. It made me really tough, actually, so that I could endure, um, a lot of different things, because it was a crazy experience, but it was a decade of experiences in that 1 year, and created relationships. It's where Kevin and I met, because he actually was in the same boat. He got recruited at the same time, and,
Another person
um
that still speaks to me. I don't know.
right? I know. And Kevin has turned into, like, 1, an incredible friend, 2, an incredible
Mhm.
mentor, and 3, a person who's bet on me a few different times now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we really had a strong connection. He was leaning on me, taught me a lot in the couple
Mhm.
of months that we were there. And then, of course, he went to Deleuze. I
Mhm.
went to Ahold, and then, fast forward a few years, and suddenly we're texting each other like, "Hey, looks
You're
like
right.
we're gonna be working together again," which was
Yeah.
crazy when we did the merger of Ahold and Deleuze. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
everything, you look at the past, and again, it's just not linear, man. It goes in so many different directions, and there are downs, but those downs lead to incredible ups, is what I've experienced, and I think that's not unusual. Like, I don't think I've experienced anything remarkably different. I mean, it feels remarkable to me because it was crazy moments, but, like, a lot of people have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. If only we could see life through hindsight, it would reduce a
Yeah.
lot of anxiety, right? So, has if you as you look over your career, has there been someone who was more junior to you in an organization? They could have been on your team, or they could have just been someone otherwise in the organization. that shifted your perspective in a meaningful way, either about leadership or just about the business, maybe?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that great great mentorship is not about position, rank, or age, right? You can learn a lot from a lot of different people. Um, a few folks that really stand out that shifted my thinking, that were, I'll say, junior to me. One of them is a guy called Matt Simon. Uh, Matt was he and I worked together at Ahold, and then I brought him into my team at Giant as chief marketing officer. Um, Matt was brilliant. He was a brand builder. And I would say he's the one who really taught me what brand actually means. I thought I knew what a brand was, but then Matt had been part of some pretty cool transformations of different brands outside of grocery. It was able to bring those lessons in and talk about like the full integration of it and everything else. And then the other Matt that was part of that, Matthew LeCavage, who is, I brought him in as chief HR officer. Like he connected the other piece of that, which was the people side. And so what the two of them together taught me, and thus we were able to do at the organization and create the Giant company, was the employee value proposition and the customer value proposition have to have connectivity. Like you can't have one that isn't connected to the other. And so if Matthew was owning the EVP and Matt was owning the CVP, and then all of that is under like the architecture of the brand proper and like those, Kevin always called it like those sharp edges of the brand, like that together is magic. And I think what I would have done if left to my own device was the flashy stuff really quickly. Like, hey, let's switch up the logo. Let's, do all these other things and like get points on the board fast. They taught me a better way, which was no, fix the fundamentals, go at a promise level, line up everything against those so that your touch points to both consumers and to team members are real, are measurable, and then line everything up in order to support those different things. And the two Matts, like they were like dangerous, I would say, together, and very much made our 5 years of transforming the Giant company and then turning it into supermarket retailer of the year and like all these incredible things like that would never have happened absent the two of them. And I think the work that they put into it, and not to take anything away from the rest of the team, everybody contributed, but at a strategic level, those two over contributed and taught me quite a bit.
Well, I'm smiling for a couple of reasons. One of the things that you said about your talent and people who are in ops, sort of serving the customer and the customer, that connection having to happen. But the other reason is because Matt Lutkovich was sitting right where you're sitting right now about a week and a half ago, having a similar conversation with me about leadership. So it's funny that you referenced him.
Well, listen, you should put his on because his is going to be much better than this one. So
no, his was phenomenal, and this is phenomenal as well, and it's nice because there are these contrasting perspectives, right? So if you look at, because you've served in very large scaled organizations currently and in the past, obviously at Walmart. So where do you think leadership teams sometimes believe that they're making meaningful changes, but they may not really actually be, that may not be translating into execution?
I think that what I have learned is that if the end user does not believe that the change is real, then the change probably isn't real. And so one of the things that I've spent a lot of personal energy and time into learning and then teaching and then practicing is good change management. And there's a specific model that I've really kind of gravitated towards. And I've been fortunate to help lead a couple of transformations now, leading one at the moment, I'm here with Dave and everybody at Michaels. And the end user, and for retail, it's usually the store manager. Like that's the person that you're thinking about. If they don't think it's real, if they don't believe in the vision, if they don't feel enabled to bring it to life, then it's not going to be. And you can have like small episodic wins. And I think sometimes leadership teams see short-term gains and they're like, aha, our brilliant strategy is working. It's real, it's real, it's real. But then what happens if that leadership team walks away? Like, does it continue or does it not continue? And I wish I could remember who it was that taught me this, but like success of a leader is often judged after they leave, not when they are there. Right. And so what happens the 2 years after somebody exits a leadership role? If everything falls apart, then did they really lead? Did they really,
Right.
I would say, build the engine that continues to generate value? Did they really build the engine that continues to develop and attract and kick out talent or not? And too many organizations look at short-term results and then they celebrate those. And that's especially true, I think, in public companies where you're always trying to, maximize the share price at the end of every quarter. What I love about private companies, which, I'm now in my second one, is that you have a longer term view on things. You have the ability to have a longer term view on value creation, on talent durability, on strategic durability, and I find that very freeing in a lot of different ways, and nice to do. But that's really what it is, Ben. It's like if people don't believe in it at the store level, then it's just not going to last.
Yeah. We have time constraints because everything you say makes me want to ask you like 5 more questions. But on that private public company distinction, because I see that a lot because I got, big private clients and public clients. I think that you're on the inside of it, but I think in private organizations, unless you're Google or something and you're a very well capitalized public company, there's more opportunity to be really transformative and innovative because you don't have to show the result in 3 months when you get out of call with investors. And so you can just,
I mean, I think that's the whole thesis. Yeah, man. Like that is the thesis of a leverage buyout, right? I mean, if you look at PE firms who do that, like that's the thesis. That's what they do. I mean, clearly they want to create multiples on their invested capital, but they also have to believe in it. Like one of the things I love about our sponsor, Apollo, is that they, from the very beginning and even until now, like they believe in the brand Michaels and what it can mean in North America and beyond. And that matters. That matters. They see that. Yes, they hit their own, investment committee targets and everything else.
right.
By the way, I do too. Like our interests are 100% aligned on that, but it's about something that is more than just cash. And I think great PE firms do that. I'm fortunate to be part of one right now. Yeah, and we can talk about it some other time, but like my last role is actually VC and very, very different than PE.
Oh yeah.
And, and so I feel kind of fortunate that I've now had public VC and PE experiences and just learning the different kind of rhythms and outcome expectations for each of those different capitalization structures.
Yeah. So Nick, when you look at value, when you evaluate leaders yourself, and we talked a little bit about understanding the context that you're entering into so you can be an effective leader. But what are those things that you look for to determine whether not just is this person effective within a certain context, but are they effective across different environments? If our competitive landscape changes, they may be great for year 1 and 2, but if something radically different happened, would they still be effective?
Excuse me. The things that attract me to other leaders and let me see them with that or lead me to believe they have the potential to do more. First and foremost is whether or not they replicate talent. Like that's critical. I mean, that's the one thing that in any leadership role, a big part of your job is creating talent that will allow the organization to continue to grow. And that's number one. The second thing is really, I would say, having organizational, I'll say, dexterity being able to understand the different functions of the company, the different, profit centers, if it's a multi-segment organization, like how it all comes together, and really having that officer fiduciary mindset where like, what is it that maximizes shareholder value, not what maximizes my individual results that I'm going to get judged on at the end of some type of marking period, but no, like the org proper, like, do I actually care that, if I'm making this up. If I'm in the category side, do I actually care what the digital penetration is, right? Do I actually care about what that looks like or not? You got to. You have to be able to see how all the pieces come together to make the enterprise move forward. So that's the second one. I think the third one is authenticity more than anything else. Great leaders, and it's not charisma, it's not like great stage presence. I mean, those things certainly show up inside of it, but it's authentic leadership.
Right.
Individuals can zero in on fake pretty quickly. Right? They just can. I mean, it's fun right now with all the LLMs and like, how people are zeroing in on the fake posts that come up. Like there's actual like human created content. And then there's this, these very clever APIs and everything else where people are just like letting the machine do it for them. And I think if you really care about your personal brand, you don't do that.
Yeah.
And the same is true for a leader. If you really care about your leadership footprint, your shadow, your brand, like you're going to be authentic. The person that you are in private is the person that you are on the stage. And people gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
Like it's a person who will say when something isn't good, and they don't just like Pollyanna everything. They'll call it out, but they won't do it in a demeaning or demoralizing way. They'll try to be constructive on it. So those are probably the three, Ben.
It's so refreshing to hear a senior executive made the comments you made in regarding kind of LLMs in terms of authenticity. And so I appreciate that. So if someone stepped into your role today, let's say you won the Mega Lotto, not that you're motivated by money, but let's say you won the Mega Lotto and your wife said, okay, we're going to do other stuff now. If someone stepped into your role today,
To be clear, she would say you still got to work because I tried to tell Spadful, and she's like, Jennifer's like, this month has been great. Go get something to do. You're driving me crazy. Nothing else can be organized. I don't need any more help. Get out there and help somebody else become better. So just to be really clear, that would not be the outcome, Ben.
So in this circumstance, we're going to employ what they do in film where they call suspension of disbelief. So we're going to pretend everything's different about your particular situation. So if someone had to step in your role today, what is it that you think they might get wrong in the first 90 days? Not because they aren't an exceptional executive and have great capabilities and skills, but that there's something particularly unique about the environment that might not be readily apparent at the outset.
That's a great question. Specialty retail is so unique compared to what I've always done in mass and grocery and more the high velocity stuff. I think taking for granted. Let me back up a little bit. People who shop at Michael's want to shop at Michael's, which is unique. Everywhere else that I've been before, it's been a have to, more of a staple or commodity type thing, and you're trying to do extra things. This is different. The Michael's shopper actually wants to shop here. And so they're a little bit more forgiving in some things. And they actually enjoy the thrill of the hunt, the more bohemian nature of our product range and everything else. And so I think if somebody came in my role and tried to tighten everything all the way up and have only one way for everything and not give any kind of freedom inside of the framework for local creative communities, they would see a degradation of that, the results inside of that. Like, I mean, Michael's is obviously, 1,400 stores in 2 countries. Like, there's a base plan, without a doubt. But there's freedom and there's moves and creativity that are allowed based on what's happening in these different communities. It's part of our magic, part of our secret sauce. And it's very tempting when you're the chief operating officer to just tighten everything up and make it all just one way. That would be a mistake if somebody were to come in and, sit in my chair.
Nick, I really appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation, and appreciate you and kind of getting to watch as your career has developed and grown. So thanks again, and looking forward to everything at Michaels. Okay.
Likewise, Ben. It's great to see you again. Hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too. Take care.